Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's week 12. It is Tuesday and it's time to rank some running backs. These are my top 40 half PPR rankings for running backs in week 12. Let's go. At numero uno, he's red hot. It's Jonathan Taylor, of course. Even though this is technically a bad matchup against Tampa Bay, I am not worried about it. Jonathan Taylor had a bad matchup on paper last week against Buffalo, and he scored 5 touchdowns. I don't think you can expect 50 points from him. However, he's obviously the safest running back at this point, and there's no real reason to knock him down even in a bad matchup. He's obviously matchup proof. Christian McCaffrey technically has a slightly downgrade of a matchup, but obviously he is a must start as well. Same goes for Alvin Kamara, who I expect to start. And if he does suit up, he's going to be in prime time on Thanksgiving. They're also honoring Drew Brees. This is a big game for the Saints. I think that kind of has something to do with why they've been very cautious with Alvin Kamara the last couple weeks. Obviously, he's nursing a knee injury, and we hope that he's 100%. I think Alvin Kamara is going to be the focal point of the Saints offense, and in prime time, you want him in your lineup. But you already knew that he's obviously a must start. At number 4, though, is Dalvin Cook at San Francisco, and the workload is there, and this is a pretty even matchup, so you're going to keep him inside the top 5. I trust Dalvin Cook this week. At number 5, I got Austin Eckler, who obviously has a lot of potential. We saw what he did last week, scoring 4 touchdowns. But Denver's coming off a bye, and on paper, they are a good run defense. But obviously, Austin Eckler has a big role in the receiving game, so going to trust him. He's a top 5 running back rest of season. And at number 6, I got Najee Harris, who has a good matchup against Cincinnati. I think the Steelers are very hungry for a win, and they're going to lean on Najee Harris once they get the lead to hold it down. So trust him, trust his workload. He's been very efficient this season. And so is DeAndre Swift, who at the moment is looking like an elite running back. Definitely a top 10 play. But against Chicago, they've given up a touchdown in 4 straight games on the ground. I think DeAndre Swift finds his way into the end zone. Really feel safe with DeAndre Swift, especially in a PPR format. He gets a lot of targets. At number 8, Nick Chubb at Baltimore. If he does have a good game, he's going to blow up and definitely be a great option. However, it may just be a floor game for him if he doesn't get in the end zone. He's a bit touchdown dependent this week, especially with Kareem Hunt coming back. At least that's expected to happen. I think Nick Chubb offers a little bit more risk this week, but I still trust him. Obviously, he's one of my favorites. You already knew that, though. At number 9, I love A.J. Dillon this week. Once again, he's a top 10 running back. And against the Rams, I'm not worried about it. They're coming off a bye, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and the Packers are going to run the ball a lot at Lambeau Field. So I think A.J. Dillon's workload is very safe, and I don't think that Aaron Jones is going to return. But obviously, if he does come back, then he would be in this spot himself. I got him right here. But I don't think it's going to happen because they have a bye week the following week, and I think they're going to wait for that to be over with before they bring Aaron Jones back. They want to have him healthy for the playoffs. At number 10, I got Joe Mixon versus Pittsburgh, and Joe Mixon has been elite, very kind of underrated this season, and I trust him. However, I think that the Steelers are going to win this game, and one of the reasons is that they're going to hold Joe Mixon to a low efficiency. I think his yards per carry are going to be kind of low in this one. I do think he gets into the end zone, so the floor is there. Still trust him. He's a top 10 play. At number 11, I got David Montgomery at Detroit. I think the workload and this matchup is a recipe for success. David Montgomery is going to be just fine. And we saw what Nick Chubb did last week, rushing for over 130 yards on the ground. I think David Montgomery is going to be very efficient as well and get into the end zone at least once. I think Ezekiel Elliott is still a safe option, but he is nursing a bit of a knee injury. It's not that he can't play, but I do think it is holding him back a little bit, and they're limiting his touches just a tick. And on Thursday night, with a quick turnaround from Sunday's game, I think Tony Pollard is going to be involved just a little bit more than usual, and that is why I only have Ezekiel Elliott at number 12. The Cowboys have been a little bit disappointing lately, and there's a chance that their offense kind of sputters without both Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I think Amari Cooper missing last week was very critical for the efficiency of the Dallas offense. So that's why I only got Zeke at number 12, just an overall slight downgrade, but I still trust him. At number 13, I love Antonio Gibson. He's got a great matchup against Seattle, and I think you can really trust him. He fumbled last week, but he still saw 19 carries and averaged 5 yards a carry against a very good run defense. So this is going to be an easier matchup. And Antonio Gibson has the potential to score multiple touchdowns every single game. I think this is going to be a great spot for Antonio Gibson. A must start for week 12, in my opinion. At number 14, I got Darrell Henderson going up against Green Bay. And Green Bay's defense has been looking pretty stout lately. And Darrell Henderson had a down game the last time we saw him. There was also a little bit of injury concern. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to play. However, I think that without Robert Woods, the Rams will come off the field a little bit more than typically. So that's why I think Darrell Henderson doesn't have as much upside as he used to. I think they may settle for a field goal where Darrell Henderson may have gotten a touchdown in the past. So that's the only reason I've brought him down a little bit. I used to have him as a clear top 12, top 10 running back. At number 15, I expect him to make his return this week. It's Kareem Hunt at Baltimore, and there's a chance that he doesn't suit up because the Browns do have a bye next week. So that's the only risk with Kareem Hunt. He may not play, but if that happens, then you'll know, and you'll know to take him out of your lineup. So have a backup plan in case he is out. But I think if he plays, he was a must start this season, and this almost feels like a low ranking. He was a top 10 running back in pretty much every format. So Kareem Hunt has a lot of potential. You know the Browns are a run-first team, and Kareem Hunt has a big role on the goal line. So always some touchdown upside whenever Kareem Hunt suits up. At number 16, I got Cordero Patterson, who has kind of a tough matchup against Jacksonville. They actually are pretty tough when it comes to opposing running backs running the ball. But you trust Cordero Patterson's role in the passing game. He's pretty safe for at least 5 or 6 targets. And that's why I think you still trust him as a top 16 running back. I like the floor for Cordero Patterson as long as he is healthy and ready to go. At number 17, I got James Robinson versus Atlanta, and he has a great matchup. I wanted to rank him higher, but to be honest with you, I don't trust his health at the moment. He's only seen 12 carries in the last 2 games since returning from that heel injury. But just think about it. He's a running back. He has impact on that heel. He uses it every single step. I think there's some lingering pain that holds James Robinson back a little bit, and that's why I'm not fully ready to endorse him as a top 15 play this week. Definitely a top 20 running back, safe floor, and some high touchdown upside, but I'm just not sure the workload is as high as it used to be, and that's why I'm a little bit concerned with James Robinson, but still I trust him. He's inside my top 20. At number 18 is Elijah Mitchell versus Minnesota, and he is dealing with that finger injury. I think he will suit up, but that's not a guarantee, so you want to monitor his status. But even if he does come back, I think he's lost a little bit of his role to Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel has had 5 carries in both of the last 2 games, and I don't see why that role would go anywhere. They want to give Deebo Samuel the ball in any way possible, and I think coming out of the backfield is one of the ways that they're going to consistently do that the rest of the season. So that's going to limit Elijah Mitchell's upside, but I still trust his floor, definitely a top 20 running back, but a bit more of a floor play because he doesn't really catch any passes, and in a PPR format, that is a bit of a liability. So that's why I only have Elijah Mitchell at number 18. At number 19 is Melvin Gordon, who has a great matchup against the Chargers, but he is in a time split with Javonte Williams, so that caps the upside. I think it's a safe floor. I think Melvin Gordon is a very safe bet to get into the end zone because in the last 6 games that the Chargers have played, they've given up 12 rushing touchdowns. So odds are Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams both find their way into the end zone, but if Melvin Gordon doesn't see more than 15 touches, then I don't think he's going to pay off as a top 15 running back. Same goes for Saquon Barkley, who has not been looking too good this season. He had a bad matchup last week against Tampa Bay after missing a lot of weeks, but just his stats on a per-game basis this year point to him being outside the top 20 at running back. So I feel like this is a kind of a generous ranking, even though it's only at number 20. The name value that Saquon Barkley brings to the table really wants me to rank him higher. But when I look at the stats, I just can't do it. This is as high as I'm willing to go, and it's because it's a good matchup on paper, at least, against Philly. They've given up a lot of rushing touchdowns this season, but in the last 4 games, they've only given up 2. So it's not a guarantee that Barkley finds the end zone, and without those good touchdown odds, then he is a bit of a liability. So just a floor play, in my opinion, but still a top 20 running back. But the ceiling is very low in this anemic Giants offense. At number 21, I got Leonard Fournette at Indianapolis, and he gets a tough matchup against the Colts. They always hold the run game in check, especially last week. Just ask the Bills. But I think Leonard Fournette has a very solid role in the receiving game. I think he's very safe to catch at least 4 or 5 receptions, and that's what keeps the floor high for pretty consistent double-digit points. But the efficiency is going to be low in this game, and I don't think he gets into the end zone. That's why I got him in flex territory outside my top 20. At number 22, I got Damian Harris versus Tennessee, and this is kind of a difficult matchup, but I think that the Patriots are going to win this game, and they're going to eat the clock as usual. They are a run-first team, but Ramondre Stevenson has been gaining in the touch count, so that's going to limit his upside a little bit, and he's a bit too touchdown dependent for me to fully endorse as a top 20 play this week. That's why I only have him at number 22. At number 23 is Devontae Freeman versus Cleveland. And I think the workload is there. However, with Lamar Jackson returning, he will lose a few carries to him. And also Latavius Murray should be a little bit more involved than last week. So because it's a touch split, there is a bit of risk with Devontae Freeman. He's definitely just a floor play, but a decent one. You could do a lot worse than Devontae Freeman. At number 24, shocking to me, to be honest with you, to rank in this high, but I got Rex Burkhead versus the Jets. And last week, he had the most touches for the Houston's backfield, and they did win the game. I do think that the Houston Texans win this game over the Jets. And they also released Phillip Lindsay today. So the fact that Rex Burkhead is getting the most touches is why I have him at the top of the Houston depth chart. But it's really just this matchup as to why I've ranked Rex Burkhead inside my top 25. The Jets are terrible against the run, and they've been giving up the most rushing touchdowns. They kind of average like 2 rushing touchdowns allowed per game, and I think Rex Burkhead finds his way into the end zone and provides a pretty solid floor for fantasy purposes this week. He's an interesting plug and play if you need help on the waiver wire. At number 25, I got Javonte Williams versus the Chargers. And like Melvin Gordon, he has some upside, good odds to get into the end zone. But the workload is a bit capped. I really doubt he sees more than 13 to 15 touches in this one. And the Broncos also need to be leading heavily in order for that to happen. I think there's definitely some risk that they kind of need to abandon the run if the Chargers get out to an early lead. So that's why Javonte Williams is not my preferred Denver running back. I'd rather have Melvin Gordon. At number 26, I got Miles Sanders at the Giants, and I don't trust this Philly backfield. Jalen Hurts can vulture all the touchdowns like he did last week. And even though Jordan Howard looks like he's going to miss this game, I still don't fully trust Miles Sanders. He is coming off an injury after all, and I think the touches are a little bit limited than we would like them to be. So that's why he's only running back 26 for me. Alex Collins is also a pretty low-end floor play. Not too much touchdown upside. Not the most efficient player. A little too touchdown dependent for me to feel comfortable with. At number 28, Josh Jacobs is also a pretty touchdown dependent player. And at Dallas, I think he's going to be held out of the end zone. They are a pretty difficult run defense, and I think he's going to have a rough time. But there is some potential. He does have a decent floor, but I really don't think it's going to pay off because I don't think he gets into the end zone this week. At number 29, in the same game, I got Tony Pollard, who I think is going to be quite involved with no Amari Cooper, no CeeDee Lamb, and a slightly banged up Zeke. I think Tony Pollard gets at least a dozen touches and offers a very high floor, especially for a backup, one of the highest upsides among all backup running backs this week. And I like his potential to score, but obviously he is a backup. It does come with some risk. At number 30, I got Deontay Foreman of the Tennessee Titans at New England, and I have a feeling the Titans may be held to fewer than 10 points in this game. I think the Patriots defense is really going to lock it down and give them a rough time, especially for Ryan Tannehill. So I think the Titans come off the field quite a bit. Their punter is going to be pretty active in this game, and that's why I don't love Deontay Foreman's upside. Myles Gaskin also gets a terrible matchup coming in at number 31 And last week, he barely capitalized on his great matchup against the Jets. The stats for Gaskin point to him being outside the top 30 this season at running back on a per game basis, and that's why I have him this low. In New York, it looks like Michael Carter is going to be out for at least 2 weeks, and that's why there's a bit of a toss up here with the Jets running back. I got Tevin Coleman at number 32 and Ty Johnson right behind him at number 33. I really can't pick between the two. I want to put Ty Johnson inside the top 25 or so, but I just don't think that he's going to get all the touches. And even though this is a good matchup for both of them, I think there's just too much risk to pick between the two that I don't really want to endorse either player. I got them as very, very risky flex plays this week, even though they have a good matchup. David Johnson comes in at number 34, and I mentioned this great matchup against the Jets with Rex Burkhead, but carries some risk as well. This game is going to be weird. I feel like there's a chance that the final score is like 35-30. I don't think either defense is going to show up, but both offenses are very risky as well. So I'd kind of rather steer clear, but I think one running back in this game is really going to pay off, and I've picked Rex Burkhead. That's why I got him 10 spots higher than David Johnson at number 24. At number 35, Ramondre Stevenson, who I mentioned a little bit earlier. His workload is increasing, but a little bit of risk because Damian Harris is still the number one option. So play at your own risk, but Ramondre Stevenson isn't the worst flex option you could go with. At number 36, I got Mark Ingram, who if Alvin Kamara doesn't suit up, then I'm definitely going to rank him higher than this, but on paper, this is a tough matchup against the Bills. They were embarrassed last week against Jonathan Taylor. I think they're going to show up a little bit more, but I don't think that they're as elite as they were a month or two ago. I think they're definitely showing some cracks in Buffalo, and Mark Ingram has some upside, but only if Alvin Kamara sits. So that's why I got him outside my top 35. At number 37, I got Jamal Williams versus Chicago, and I just trust DeAndre Swift a little bit more with Tim Boyle at quarterback. There's some risk on this Detroit team. Then J.D. McKissick follows at number 38, followed by Zach Moss, who I have no intention of starting at all throughout the rest of the season. I really don't trust him. He's got a terrible schedule moving forward. It's not looking good for Zach Moss, and I got him really low as my running back 39. Right above Sony Michel, an interesting backup for Darrell Henderson. There could be some upside. Sony Michel does have a role for the Rams. So that's going to wrap up this video. Those are my top 40 half PPR rankings for running backs this week. If you got a start-sit question you'd like some help with, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I'll get to it as quickly as I can. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'll have wide receiver rankings either tonight or tomorrow. So that's it for me. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you so much for watching Nice and Blunt.